Hello everybody, Jamie the Board Game Man, and today we're looking at a small little card game. It's a micro card game because it only has 18 cards total. It is a 2 to 5 player game. Came out in the year 2015 by Yanaguana Games. It is called Stir Fry 18. Why I say 18? Because like I said, there's 18 cards. The first player to 50 points wins the game, and in this game what you're doing is you're cooking stir fry. And in order for you to cook, you must have a noodle card. You can't have stir fry without noodles, right? And you have all these different ingredients you try to put together in your hand. If you don't have what you need, well, you can either discard, pass, or bluff your opponent into thinking you have what you need to have in order to switch them out. I'll go over that in the tutorial right now because we're going to head on down to the gamer's table where I'm going to show you how to play Stir Fry 18. Alright everybody, here we are at the gaming table with Stir Fry 18, the micro card game, where this is the game right here, all 18 cards. You're going to have your instruction booklet folded inside the little case, and then you'll have the cards, which are all 18. I'm going to go ahead and show you all these real quick, that way you have an idea of what's in the deck. You have the proteins. They're the most, well, not the most important, but they do give you a lot of points if you can cook with these proteins. You have chicken, pork, and shrimp. You have one card of each. You also have all these ingredients up here, which you have green onions, which you have 2 of, 2 gingers, 3 mushrooms, 3 soy sauces, and the most important ingredient are noodles, which you have 5 of those in the deck. All right. In order for you to cook anything and to get any kind of points, you must have a noodle in your stir fry, because that is the most important ingredient in a stir fry. You can't just do it with ingredients and meat. You got to have some kind of noodle in it too. So you must have a noodle in your hand to cook in order to get any points. So I'm going to go ahead and take a second. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle all these up, and I'll show you how to play Stir Fry 18. All right, so I shuffled the deck, and now we're ready to go ahead and divvy out 3 points to every player. Now it is a 2 to 5 player game, but we're just going to do a quick little 2-player to show you how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 3 cards for myself and 3 cards for this player over here. Then you can put the draw pile right here. And then we're going to go ahead and begin. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. All right. Now, the object of the game is you're trying to be the first player to 50 points. Now, there are some variations in the instruction booklet, which I'll go over at the very end of the game. I just want to show you the basic how you play this game, and then I can go over the good old variation, the variants. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my cards. I'm going to see what I have, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a card. So that's the very first thing I'm going to do is draw a card. Now, what you're trying to do really is that depending on what ingredients with the meat, I mean, you can get bonus points for cooking certain things with other certain ingredients. So I'm going to look at this, and I have a perfect hand right here because I do have a protein, even though you do not have to cook with the protein. You can cook with all veggies, but you have to have a noodle card in order to be able to cook. So I have chicken, mushroom, ginger, and noodles. Now there's 2 different ways I can try to get more cards in my hand. Now you do not have to do any of these. You can have the perfect hand, and you can go ahead and cook. But you might want to try to get more cards because you might get more points in the long run. What I can do is I can take one of these cards in my hand and say that they're a protein. And I can say, I'm going to take 1, 4, 2, 3, or 4. Now the reason why I say that is when it comes to the proteins, let's get to the proteins. Let me go ahead and show you the proteins, and that way this might make a little more sense as I'm telling you this. Okay, here we go. Here are the 3 proteins in the game, like I said earlier: chicken, pork, and shrimp. Now you'll see on the bottom of the shrimp card, it says may discard for 2 cards. It says in the very bottom there. The pork, if you may discard this up to 3 cards. Okay. Then the shrimp, you can draw up to 4 cards. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that shrimp to chicken back in my hand. I'm gonna put these back in here. All right, like so. Okay. Them back in there. I already drew my cards. Now I have 4 cards here. So I'm going to say, I'm going to put 1 down. I'm going to say I want 1, 4, 2. Now, the other players, depending on how many other players there are, they can either trust me and say, trust the chef, we trust you, or they can say, I want a taste test. If they want a taste test, Then you show the card, and if you were telling the truth, which in this case I was, anybody that told me a taste test, they lose all the cards in their hand. So you got to feel real confident that I'm lying, or that I'm actually telling the truth. If you think I'm really telling the truth, you don't want to do the taste test, okay? So anybody that said I want a taste test and I am actually told the truth, then they lose all their cards. So if this player had 3 cards in their hand, they lose all 3 of these cards, and that is really damaging. All right, because in order for you to cook, you need a minimum of 3 cards to cook with, and a maximum of 5. So you can't go more than 5, no less than 3. Now, let's just say I lied. Let's just say I want 1 for 3, and I was trying to pass it off as pork. And now if everyone said, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you, you don't have to show what's on this card. You just discard it. Now, see, I tried to lie there. Try to say, okay, yeah, it's pork. I want 1 for 3. Everybody trusted me. So this goes in the discard pile, and I draw up to 3 cards. Or not up, but I draw 3 cards, okay? But if somebody catches me in the long run, say I said 1 for 3, and then they said, well, I want a taste test. Uh-oh, I lied. Okay, what happens is I can no longer do any more trading or anything like that. I can't do any more. I can't try to do the other thing, which I haven't mentioned to you yet. If I can cook with what I have in my hand, I can cook it. Otherwise, my turn is over. And the people that actually caught me in a lie not only draw 1 card, but they draw 2 cards. So you get an extra card if you catch the chef in a lie. Now, in this case, let's just say, I want that back. I want 1 for 2. Everybody says, okay, we trust you. Okay, which in this case, I was telling the truth. So I would draw 2 cards. Now, the other thing I can do to try to get more is I can put out a pair of cards. And if I do a pair of cards, I could get 3 cards back. So let's just say I'm going to go and put this and this. Okay, I'm going to trade 2 for 3. It's always 3 cards you get back if you try to trade a pair. Okay. Everybody goes around, yeah, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you. You're good to go. You put these in the discard pile and you draw 3 cards. If somebody calls you out and says a taste test, same thing happens. You have to show the cards. You only have to show the cards if there's a taste test. Oh, I told the truth. This is actually a pair. So that whatever person said taste test, same thing happens. They lose all their cards. If I told the truth, in this case I do, but if nobody, if everyone trusts me, then I would put these in here, and I would draw 3 cards. See how that works? So now I have a good amount of cards in my hand here. I can do some good cooking here. All right, so I'm going to look at all my cards, and you're going to see in the bottom of all these ingredients, there's going to be certain bonuses that you can do. Like in this case, you get 2 points for the ginger, but I get 4 points, all right, if I cook with the pork. So if I have a pork in my hand, I probably want to put that ginger with it because I get more points for it. Let's look at the green onion. I get 3 points if I cook it with anything else but the shrimp. As you can see on the bottom there, I get 5 points if I cook it with shrimp. So all these little ingredients, you got to really pay attention. Now, noodles, obviously you have to have this to cook. It's always just 1 point. Okay, there's no special stuff with that. All right. All right, so let's see what I got here. Now, you cannot cook with more of one of the same ingredients. So I cannot place all the ingredients out there and have 2 gingers or 2 soy sauces. You can't do that. You have 1 of each in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cook with, because I've already done my, try to trade 1 card for, like my protein for any other cards, and I can do a pair. That's the only 2 things you can do during your turn, but you do not have to do both. I'm going to cook with shrimp. All right. All right. And then I'm going to look at all these. Oh, look at this, a green onion. I get bonus points for this. I'm going to go ahead and do a green onion. But maybe I still want to do the ginger. I can still do the ginger, even though it's not bonus points for the shrimp, it still gives me points. And then I will do the noodles, okay? And that will be my hand. That will leave me with pork and ginger in my hand, okay? That's what I can do. I cannot put this ginger out there because I already have a ginger out here. So that's my cook right there. I'm going to get 6 points. It's 9 points if I cook it with ginger. See, you got to look at the protein cards too, because there's also bonus cards on these. Points, I'm sorry. So 6 points, but I get 9 points if cooked with ginger. Boom. There you go. Thank you very much. Now it says 11 points if cooked with soy sauce and ginger. So if I had a soy sauce and a ginger out there, then I would get a total of 11 points. That is pretty darn awesome. But in this case, I got 9 points. So I'm cooking with ginger, so that's 9. I cook this with shrimp, so that's 5, so that's 14. I get 2 points, because I didn't cook it with pork, so I still get the points for this. Even though it says on here, I still get the points for this. So that would be 9, 12, 14, and a 1 point for the noodles. That's a 15-point round. That is pretty darn impressive. So I'd get 15 points. You would go ahead and jot it down. You take these, you put these with this and the discard pile, and you reshuffle. Dun, 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 dun. Now, after you reshuffle, since I cooked a meal, I get to draw 1 card. Okay? And that is the end of my turn. Now, you got the next player over here. We're going to look and see what the next player has. Oh, geez, he has 2 noodles and a mushroom. He's going to need some help here. Now, you might want to get rid of this pair because he can get 3 cards, and maybe he'll get some noodles back. So I'm going to go ahead and say 2 for 3. Everyone's going to go and say, okay, do you trust the cook, or do you demand a taste test? All right. So everyone says, no, we trust you. Okay, now I only have 3 cards. They might not. The odds of getting a pair and 3 cards, I don't know, but they trust me. So they trusted me. I'm going to draw 3 cards. Now see, I went from 3. Now I have 4 in my hand. Draw 3 cards. Now the good news is I got one of those noodles back, so at least I can cook something. Now, this is when the bluffing comes in handy. Now maybe do I want to bluff one of these cards? I don't have any proteins in here, but I can try to bluff it. I have 2 mushrooms, so I'm going to go ahead and go for this. I'm going to say 1 for 3. So now I'm trying to say that this is the pork. Now if somebody says, nah, taste test, well, I just got caught red-handed. Okay, I got caught, so I can do no more. Of course, that's my last one anyway. I can't do any more trading of any cards or anything. So that person would get an extra card on their turn, and I have to deal with what I have. Now, I can try to cook with what I have here, but honestly, I don't really want to be down to no cards in my hand, because then you got to build your hand back up. So I might want to pass. I'm going to say, you know what? I pass. That's it. You don't get any points that round. Now, I do not get a card because I did not cook anything in that round. Goes back to me. I draw a card. Okay, actually, I'm sorry. This actually does get reshuffled. You do reshuffle it quite often because there is only 18 cards in here. So you can go ahead and reshuffle. Excuse me. And we're going to draw 1 card. Okay. I'm going to say, okay, I want, let's see, I want 1 for 3. All right. This person says, I want a taste test. Well, dun, dun, dun. I told the truth. So they would have to cough up their 3 cards in their hand. They discard those. And I proceed on getting 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. All right, here we go. And so on. And then I can try to play it off and say, maybe I want more cards. Maybe I want to try to say, okay, I 2 for 3. All right. And if they catch me, then obviously my turn will be over unless I want to cook something. Or they can just say they trust me and I would get 3 cards. And now it's time for me to cook. Now the problem is here, if I have, let's just say I did shrimp, ginger, let's see, I want to make sure I do this right here. That way I show you a good example. And noodles. Now I do have a minimum of 3. Okay. So I would get the points for these. But if I have, see, I calculated the points, but I have 4 cards in my hand. You cannot have more than 3 cards in your hand at the end of your turn. So if you're not able to use all these cards, let's just say you had, maybe 3 duplicates of the same thing, that might hurt you a little bit. So you have to discard down the 3 cards at the end of your turn. So I would have to go, okay, well, let's see, I'm just going to go ahead and discard the soy sauce. Okay, now I'm down to 3 cards and I'm good to go. Okay, then you reshuffle and then the player goes on and so on. So that's how you play Stir Fried 18. It's really a good bluffing game, but there's 2 different ways you can do it. Like I said, you put 1 card down and you're going to act like it's going to be a protein. You're going to say 1 for 2, 3, or 4. Okay, and it's a good way to say it that way instead of saying chicken or pork, because you're trying to remember, okay, is it, you want to be caught in a lie and saying, oh, 1 for pork, and then all of a sudden it's not, and then you get stuck. So you just want to say 1 for 2, 1 for 3, 1 for 4. And that way you remember. And then you don't have to remember which one's which. You don't have to remember shrimp is 4, pork is 3. You don't have to remember that. You just put 1 for 3, 1 for 2, 1 for 4, and so on. But you want to be careful, especially when you have a lot of players, there's only one of each of those you know, the pork, chicken, and the proteins, you know. So someone else might have that card and they know you're lying. Because, oh, well, wait a minute, I have the chicken. He's saying 1 for 2. Taste test. So you want to pay attention to what cards you have in your hand, you know, and all that good stuff. So you want to really pay attention. Because if someone says 1 for 2 and you're sitting there looking at the chicken in your hand, you know if they're lying. Because there's only one of that in the deck, okay? Now let's go over the variants in this game. The variants go as follows, which are pretty cool little variants. Close the kitchen. Now this is a scoring variant, so after the first player reaches 50 or higher, each other player takes 1 turn. Okay, you take 1 more turn, and then whoever has the highest score wins the game. Because in the normal game, once somebody gets 50, boom, game ends, done, right at that point immediately. So you can do 1 more turn for each person, then whoever has the most points over 50 will end up winning. You also have the Master Chef, which you play to 300 points in that game. The Empty Pantry, which means you do not draw a card to start each turn. You just play with what you have in your hand. The Bullseye Chef. This is when the players must score exactly 50 points to win the game. So that's a pretty cool variant as well. All right. And that, my friends, are the 4 different variants they have in the game. So that's actually pretty darn cool. And you can see it's pretty easy. It tells you the actions, tells you how to bluff, all that good stuff, how you trade in cards, you know, for 2 for 3, 1 for 4, 1 for 3, it says right here. It tells you how to cook a stir fry, which is exactly what I just told you. Minimum of 3, maximum of 5. You must have a noodle card in there in order to cook. And then, of course, the end of turn shows you whether you have cooked something, you grab a card. If you have not cooked anything, then your turn is over. Obviously, if you get caught in a bluff, obviously your turn is over unless you're able to cook something. You can still cook something. You just got to make sure you keep in mind how many cards you have in your hand after you cook. You don't want to be stuck with 1. You can get away with 3, but then again, you always want to try to get, you know, some cards, keep some cards in your hand so you can work with some, because the least amount of cards you have in the hand, the least likely you're able to bluff, you know what I mean? This explains the bluffing and taste tests, and then, of course, the winning the game, and then all the different variants in the game. So it's a really nice little instruction booklet, really quick and simple, very, very fun to play. All right, my friends, that is Stir Fry 18. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's head on over to the game room, and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, so my final thoughts on Stir Fry 18. You know, I really, really enjoy this game. 18 cards, you didn't think you'd have so much fun playing, especially the bluffing aspect of it, or when you're telling the truth. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll tell the truth quite a bit, and every once in a while I'll kind of throw a little lie out there, or a bluff, not a lie. And sometimes you get away with it, but sometimes you don't. And that's the same with your opponent, because it really hurts if you accuse your opponent and you're wrong. Then you lose all the cards in your hand. So that makes it tough. And then another one of those things is you have to remember that, you know, after you cook, at the end of your turn, you can't have any more than 3 cards. So sometimes I forget that, and I'll have 5 cards remaining, and I have to discard 2 and don't get anything for them. That's the bummer. So you got to really kind of keep an eye on what cards you have, because I remember one hand I was playing. It's on BGA, by the way, Board Game Arena. Good old Babs, one of my good subscribers, one of my great subscribers. She introduced this to me on BGA, and I fell in love with it immediately, just like I did Vegetable Stock, the previous episode I did. Both these she taught me back-to-back on the same night, and here I am with both games in my possession. But anyhow, it was tough because I had 3 noodles, and I had all these cards and everything, and then I had a couple, and then I cooked, and I had 5 cards left over. And I was like, why did I keep all these noodles? Because I just want to hoard the noodles, because you need the noodles in order to cook. And I thought, well, if I get rid of the 2 noodles, I'm not going to have any, you know. So you have to kind of break away from that and try to, you know, there might be times like when you have 3 noodles, you can have a minimum of 3. Well, I had ginger and I think I had soy sauce, so I had to get rid of the 2. And I was like, oh man, why did I just wasted those. But you learn real quick in this game how to cook and how and when to, bluff, when not to. Well, actually, I don't think you really know when to bluff. It's all in your gut in this game, and that's what I like about this game. It's never going to be the same twice. It's always going to be different, even if there is only 18 cards, because you reshuffle every single time. So it's, except for the opponent, they keep their cards in their hand, but then after you're done with you cooking, you shuffle them all up, and then you deal them back out. So this is a great, great little game. So if you can find it, get it. I'm surprised it's been out since 2015. I mean, it's been out 8 years. I've never even heard of it until thanks to BGA and thanks to Babs that told me and showed me how to play the game, and I just fell in love with it. So I like the back here. It says it's a fun and quick bluffing game with a tasty theme. It says collect ingredients, deceive your opponents, cook, stir fry. That's pretty much what you're doing in this game. So if you can find it, get it. I'll give it a thumbs up. I forgot the thumbs up meter, but I'm not going to go run and get it. Thumbs up on the meter. And if you can find it, get it. Definitely. All right, everybody. That's my review on Stir Fry 18. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Let me know if you've played this game. I'd be very interested to see if you played it. And if you haven't heard of it, like me, and you're interested in getting it or even playing it on BGA first and see if you like it, that would be great. Put that in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I always appreciate your support. And happy gaming.